Well, we appreciate everybody just participating. We always love a good, fun question. But today we'll get into the content. We are going to be recapping Walmart's Collect Pickup program. But before we get into the content, we always like to introduce ourselves. So for those of you who have never been here before, my name is Danielle Gloy. I am a SupplierWiki researcher, so I help organize and research some of the content that you see. And then leading our content today is the incredible Ali Trong, our lead SupplierWiki researcher here at SupplyPike. You can find Ali working on pretty much a little bit of everything within the SupplyWiki team, from ebooks to webinars to articles to all the behind the scenes. She does it all, and she's great at what she does. So we are really excited for you to be leading the content today.
Thanks, Danielle.
Okay, so as we go through the recap of Walmart's Collect Pickup program, some topics that you can expect to see throughout the webinar. Firstly, we're going to do a quick outline on what the Collect Pickup program is. We'll go through a breakdown of the fees that we see associated with the program, and then we will go ahead and share some supplier feedback and best practices that can be implemented. We will also have time for questions and discussion. And then finally, we will end it off the webinar with a little bonus product preview. So lots to look forward to. All right. So here are a few FAQs that we typically get during webinars. So first being, will we be getting a copy of the slide deck? Yes, absolutely. You can expect to see the PDF version of the slide deck, as well as the recording of the webinar appear in your email box in about like 3 to 4 business days. We also post all of our recordings on YouTube, and they live on our SupplierWiki site. So if you, for some reason, lose the email, you can always go to YouTube or visit our website, which is supplierwiki.supplypike.com, to find the slide deck, as well as several other free educational resources. Okay, so second question, what is the best way to ask a question? At the bottom of your screen, you will see a chat tab, and then you will see a Q&A tab. So the chat tab will be a great place to submit any insights or to engage in conversation like those good commercial jingles. And then the Q&A tab has 2 little speech bubbles. And this is where we ask you to please submit any questions related to the content, as I'll be able to monitor them and then tee them up for Ali for the Q&A at the end. Okay, so last little thing before we get into the content. If you are new to our webinars or have never heard of SupplyPike, we are a Northwest Arkansas-based software company who helps suppliers reduce revenue loss by detecting compliance issues and fighting them through business logic and automation. We do this in a lot of different ways and with multiple different retailers like Walmart, Target, Amazon, Kroger. But today we're going to be specifically focusing around Walmart. And just a little shout out, we work with a lot of great suppliers across the box in almost every product category. We have some of them up here today. And if your logo is not up here, we would love to see it at some point. We love to work with suppliers to help reduce revenue loss and win back money owed. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Ali to get into today's content.
Awesome. Thank you, Danielle. That was great intro. Yeah, let's get into today's content. Today, we're talking about the Collect Pickup program. So we'll kind of go into the origin of how this started. This is relatively new at Walmart, and we'll talk about why this has begun as well. So what is the Collect Pickup program? So Walmart announced this Collect Pickup program, I believe it was like July 4th, actually, of 2022, to collect suppliers who use Walmart Freight in the US. They're going to be charged an additional fee due to some of the major shifts in the transportation industry. So if you can think back to late summer of 2022, you'll remember there was a lot of economic frustration and tension with some of the oil prices, gas prices. There's also the Ukraine war had just begun. So there was a lot of uncertainty and frustration around, around some of the economic state. So just to kind of outline how long this program has been around, the Collect Pickup program was announced in the beginning of July via email, and it was announced and then went into effect the next month. So it was a really quick turnaround, and it left suppliers asking a lot of questions about what all the program entailed. And then in September 1st, 2022, this was the first month that suppliers received those fees based on their August shipments. So what brought on the collect pickup program? I alluded to this a little bit earlier, but some of the key factors that brought this on were some of the truck driver shortages, responses to inflation, fluctuating shortages and overstocks, and maintaining EDLP. If you want to know a little bit more about some of the reasons that Walmart launched this program, you can read one of our articles. We have a couple different articles on the collect pickup program that I'll reference throughout today's webinar, but the one that is titled "What is the collect pickup program?" that's the one that kind of goes into some of these points more in depth. So these were kind of based on what was going on during the time, but the collect pickup program, as what Walmart has said during the launch period and what is still maintained on Retail Link today, is that this is a permanent program. So this is going to be in response to whatever fluctuations happen. This will still be constant within the collect world for suppliers. So who does the collect pickup program affect? I've already kind of mentioned this, but this is going to be collect suppliers shipping through Walmart Freight or any 3PLs representing Walmart Freight. This will also be in Walmart US specifically. I'll kind of talk about where the collect pickup program is not affected in the next slide. If you are a mix of prepaid and collect, the portion of your business that is collect shipping will be subjected to the collect pickup program fees, but the portion of your business that is not, that is actually prepaid, will be exempt. DSV suppliers are going to be included if the POs are created in order management systems, and if the supplier has collect freight terms. So just make sure that you're reviewing your supplier agreement and any of your POs if there's something that is out of the norm, because there will be an additional fee added to that. Additionally, any POs that flow through a consolidation center will be charged in this program, regardless of their method of delivery. You can find this information on the Retail Link's Supplier Academy, and they really haven't given any reason why for some of these, like the consolidation center or the DSV suppliers, some of these smaller points, but just know that that's kind of who's in at this point. And then who's not affected by the collect pickup program? First, it's going to be prepaid suppliers. That makes sense. Shipping through Walmart Freight or any 3PLs representing Walmart Freight. You've got your DSV suppliers, e-commerce orders, and then your Walmart fulfillment services and prepaid suppliers who are backhauled. And currently these are not any of the suppliers that are affected. So if you are a collect supplier outside of the US, we have not seen any suppliers being affected or being charged fees with the collect pickup program. That is also what Retail Link states is currently happening. If you're seeing something else, please let us know so we can update our information and make sure it's the most up to date. But so far, if you're outside the US, we are not seeing collect pickup program fees, and then as well as direct imports. So back in 2023, this is kind of what we were seeing may be affected. We haven't seen anything yet, but we'll keep you updated if direct import or suppliers outside the US are affected by this program. All right. Now we're going to get into a breakdown of the fees. So the collect pickup program is made up of a couple different fees, but it is important to define what we mean when we're saying a fee. So Walmart uses language that can kind of vary between charges, between chargebacks, fines, fees. So we're going to break that down now just so we can have the clearest understanding from what we've reviewed in Walmart documentation. So the collect pickup program has two different fees. There's the fuel and the pickup fee, and sometimes they are referred to as charges, but we want to clarify what it is actually meaning. So collect pickup program charges, they're not an AP or AR deduction. They're not going to be deducted from your check or disputable. So we'll kind of get into why that language is being used. It's also not a chargeback. An OTIF fine or a SQEP fine is completely different. We can go into what OTIF, on time in full, or SQEP, your supplier quality excellence program, what those chargebacks will look like, but we've got lots of content on that. If you're not familiar with those programs, I would go ahead and review those. This is also not a penalty fine. You're not doing something wrong as a supplier. This is accounting for the additional cost of drivers, of transportation. So just know that there's nothing for you to go and dispute as well. This is really just saying, hey, depending on where the market is, where the economy is, where fuel prices are, where truck driver fees are, that's a fluctuating business. We're just going to charge a percentage to make sure that we're offsetting our costs, ultimately to the goal that Walmart always is preaching, which is EDLP, everyday low price. They're trying to be able to manage the prices for the customer. And so a lot of those margins are going to be then again pushed back onto the supplier. I'm sure that's familiar if you're in line reviews or if you're having conversations with your merchant team. This is going to be pretty similar just on the transportation side. It is more of a situation where the cost is going to get handed back to the supplier. All right, and I kind of alluded to this as well, but if you walk away from today's webinar not remembering anything, this is what I would focus on. This is about knowing what you can prevent and what you can dispute. So like I said, the collect pickup program is fees. We're going to refer to those as fees in today's webinar, just for clarity sake, to make sure that we're all on the same page. If there's a fee at Walmart, we're saying that that is not disputable. So it's because it's not a penalty. It's not something that can be determined as valid or invalid. Whereas we have deductions, namely short shipping deductions, SQEP fines, OTIF fines, those are disputable. So if you're looking to reduce some of the revenue or recover revenue, this is the place to start. Look at your AP deductions, look at your AR deductions. There's going to be in the form of the two programs, OTIF and SQEP. That's where you can really fight back and win those recovered dollars. The collect pickup fee, that's something where you just have to know that you're going to be writing that off, add that into your buffer, and maybe that buffer is coming from spending time disputing some of these different chargebacks and deductions in the purple section. All right, so I kind of spoke to this a little bit before, but essentially there's a lot of different words that get used. This is what we pulled from Walmart. On Retail Link, they do have something that talks about fees, chargebacks, and fines. A fee is going to be an additional payment that is attached to a service provided, and it is not disputable. So when we say fee, that means we're talking about specifically today, the collect pickup program. A chargeback is a penalty against the supplier for not adhering to a compliance regulation or the supplier agreement. So Walmart has referred to deductions as chargebacks, and those seem to be, in the Walmart world specifically, interchangeable. It sounds like more specifically for AR fines when you hear the word chargeback, but I have heard suppliers, I've heard brokers, I've heard people from Walmart and in their documentation refer to a deduction as a chargeback. So not super important, but if someone is kind of giving you a confused look and you're talking about a code 22, sometimes it makes more sense to say the word deduction rather than chargeback. And if you're talking about an OTIF or SQEP fine, it may make more sense to use the word chargeback. Remember that these can be invalid and they can be disputed and won with the right documentation. And we can get into the nitty-gritty of some of the ways that you can fight those with deductions, OTIF, and SQEP fines. Those are all separate processes. So happy to answer any questions if anyone wants to know more about that. So that's going to apply to AP fines or AP deductions, rather, like code 25s. And then last is a fine. This is also a penalty against the supplier, and it can be invalid and won with the right documentation. And this word may also get used with your AR deductions as well. We have heard the words OTIF chargeback, OTIF fine, but we don't necessarily hear the word OTIF deduction when it comes to your AR fines. So I know this could be a little bit confusing, but this may be helpful if you're hearing people talk about what's disputable and what's not. Just to clarify, a fee is not going to be disputable, whereas everything else should be on the table. All right, let's talk about the specific fees of the Collect Pickup program. So first off, the Collect Pickup charge or fee is for a Walmart freight to pick up any shipped items. So think of it kind of like if you're tipping someone who is delivering your groceries, to pick them up or to drop them off, you're going to have a tip attached to that. And then second is the fuel surcharge. This is based on the distance traveled for delivering products to their destination, plus the factor of current gas prices. So those are going to be those two specific fees. And again, I know I'm using the word charge here. This is how Walmart refers to them, but we don't want to be confusing. So we're just going to be calling them fees as we move forward. Okay, the pickup fee. So this is going to be the dollar amount percentage of the COGS or cost of goods sold. This will be subtracted after any of your warehouse allowance or payment terms. So if you're unfamiliar with those terms or you don't know where to find your warehouse allowance or your payment terms, go into Retail Link. You can click the little icon at the top that's like a person, and then scroll down and you should be able to see in that menu, My Agreements. That is your supplier agreement, and that is where your warehouse allowance and your payment terms live. So I would review those to kind of help you understand how to calculate that pickup charge. It's going to be determined by each item's department. For the rhyme and reason of why that is and why Walmart decided that, they have not released any information around that, but it is helpful to just kind of understand it's going to be determined by items department. And since we last did this webinar, Walmart has said that the percentage will change every month. We've seen it kind of fluctuate, and we do have an article that highlights the different percentages on the first month that was released. But what I would recommend at this point is go ahead and look at your Collect Pickup program dashboard in Retail Link, and you can kind of see what you're being charged every month. If you don't have that, reach out to your Retail Link admin and they should be able to get you access to that. And then last, there's a monthly deduction that will take place at the 6-digit vendor accounting level, and that's going to be executed in high radius. All right, so here is what the pickup charges looked like for the month of August in 2023. This is the last time we tracked this, but what I would recommend if you have one for your specific department, either go into your dashboard, or you can ask other suppliers, or you can kind of backwards calculate what your percentage will be. Sounds like most of these have fluctuated, and it is really interesting to see the difference between something like stationery, department 3 at a 1.04%, and then you go over to your girls apparel and it's 5.1%. Again, don't understand that rhyme or reason necessarily of why Walmart has attributed these percentages, but I would kind of explore something like Walmart Supplier Support Group to understand if you're seeing something different with other suppliers. So awesome. And now we'll move into the fuel surcharge. This is the second of the Collect Pickup program fees. This is, Walmart is actually using Breakthrough Fuel, so you can look them up. They're a third-party transportation company, and they have a solution for tracking route data, and this helps them determine the fuel surcharge. So it's the gas prices plus the route that your driver is taking for all Collect shipments. And you can kind of get into the information there. They have a fair fuel reimbursement strategy. It's kind of what I mentioned before. I'm not completely familiar with all the technology, but it seems that most suppliers have felt that this is accurate. But I would review both your pickup fee and your fuel fee to make sure that those feel that they're correct for where your driver is supposed to be and the different POs that they're attributed to. All right, this is how breakthrough fuel determines the fuel charge. It's going to be aggregated at the 6-digit supplier level for billing. Fuel charges will adjust per billing cycle, kind of as I mentioned before. It's going to change every month, depending on the ship points that you're using. And then if fuel goes down, surcharges will go down if the shipment miles remain consistent. So just a thing to kind of think about there as well. And then here are the factors that the cost of this charge is determined by: actual freight movements, fuel costs with your freight's route, state and local taxes for route data, and then distance from origin to destination. And this is the question that we've seen the most from some of the suppliers that have reached out to us to talk about this program, as well as in some of the support groups and other online forums. Opting out of the collect pickup program can only be done by switching to 100% prepaid freight. So if you want to stay a collect supplier, you are unable to opt out of this program. This program is also, from what we have reviewed on Retail Link, I checked it even this morning, it is going to remain permanent. So just hoping that it will go away at some point. It may happen, but as of now, Walmart has said this is a permanent fixture of their current collect program. So Walmart makes a specific call out to supplier responsibilities of prepaid. So just knowing that the grass is not always greener. With prepaid, you may have more OTIF fines. You may have warehouse allowances that are a little bit heftier, and then returns may also be something that you would want to consider. So just have to weigh the costs, the benefits and the costs of those. And now we'll talk a little bit about full truckload versus less than truckload. We do have a OTIF 201 webinar coming out soon. I would recommend reviewing that. But essentially, if you're unfamiliar with the FTL versus LTL and how that will kind of relate to the collect pickup program, multiple suppliers on the same truck will actually split that fuel cost, and it will be based on PO contribution predicted on size of load. So wanted to call that out as well. That's just another reason why it is really important to make sure that your pack size or what you are putting on the truck is not bloated, to make sure that you have more room. That's a big no-no for suppliers. I know some people do that to make sure that all of their stuff fits on the truck, but know that if you are kind of adding that buffer room and what you're packing out into the truck, you will also be charged for that, even if you're not filling it and someone else is. So make sure that you have the correct amount that you're going to be putting into the truck. All right, here's some of the supplier feedback. So when we first kind of reviewed the implications for suppliers, the first thing that we were looking at is what's happening in the short term with the collect pickup program. And there's going to be inevitable cost increases. That, particularly when this program launched, was a really stressful time. There was transportation constraints. We were looking like we're going into an economic downturn. And a lot of suppliers were using the collect pickup program to kind of have conversations with their Walmart team and just mention, how they can balance this additional fee and understand, how to continue their business in Walmart and be a great partner for Walmart. And then long term, some suppliers considered switching to prepaid and were kind of battening down the hatches for increase in OTIF fines. With the collect pickup program, we knew that there would be additional focus on the on time in full, and then it may create issues that are increasing those fines as well. So if you want to comment below kind of what you've seen or what you experienced, especially in the beginning of this program, let us know. But other than that, we've seen that most suppliers kind of took those cost increases and focused on relieving other areas that were either a cost increase or taking time away from some of the focus that needed to be on transportation. And then some of the other questions that were asked is, how do you even view your charges? So if you are in high radius, and you may be familiar with high radius if you use them for any accounting software, as well as it is the spot where suppliers that are going to dispute their OTIF fines and their SWEP fines, so any AR deductions are going to go in and view those. They're actually going to come through as it will look similar to one of those programs, but it will start with a number 7, and that is going to be the invoice number for the collect pickup program fee. And suppliers can see the collect pickup program and then the fuel charges as split items on the invoice, but know that you cannot dispute those. That is actually not available, even though it is in high radius. And I haven't heard anything updated on this. I know this was something that suppliers asked for, but the fees don't denote the time or day. It is aggregated into the month. So it is a little bit hard to understand all of what is in that data. And I believe what you can do is view that data in your dashboard for the Collect Pickup program. All right. And then some of the tips for best practices is where you can find updates on this program. So Retail Link has a lot of helpful information. I would go into Supplier Academy. The things get moved around in here often, so sometimes it may be under another tab. But I did check this morning. This is where I found the Collect Pickup Program FAQ. You can go and review that in Supplier Academy. So you'll just navigate to Supplier Academy, go to the Get Started portion. You can go into the Transportation Basics and then Collect Transportation. There is details on routing, collect orders, the Collect Pickup Program, full truck load optimization, routing collect orders, ship point, shipping and routing guide, all of the above. There's lots of great stuff in there. So I would also call out, there is information in here. It is sometimes hard to read or kind of see how all the points connect. Another helpful guide, and I think Danielle can probably send it in the chat, is our Walmart transportation guide. It helps summarize some of those things, and it's aggregated into some of the most important things for suppliers to know. So you can go and review that as well, if helpful. All right, and then if you're having questions with the Collect Pickup program or other transportation questions, the number to call is the 479-273-8888, and then you can choose transportation and help with Collect Pickup program. There's also a page that I can send. It's in the Walmart Supplier Support group that they've mentioned it recently, but the EBS ticket system is also great to ask questions that are more general. This is the direct number that is listed on the Collect Pickup program if you have questions. All right, and then when it comes to new suppliers, so brand new suppliers at the 6-digit vendor number level that were not shipping collect prior to February 1, 2022, actually did have their charges delayed until February 1st, 2023. So this grace period did not apply to other suppliers, and no confirmation that this grace period is applying to suppliers in 2024. I believe everyone who would have been just adjusting is now moved into the Collect Pickup program, and now they're making it a part of what suppliers will be expected to pay if shipping collect, even if they're brand new. I will say, if you are a new supplier and you are nervous about some of the other programs that are disputable and will cost additional dollars, the OTIF program, so OTIF fines does have a grace period. It's about 3 months. You can actually view your fines, but you're not going to be charged those in high radius. So that is one kind of offset for new suppliers. Otherwise, your deductions, I believe you don't have a grace period, as well as your SWEP fines. I could be wrong on those, but I know for sure on the OTIF program, there is a grace period. So reach out to, or go ahead and review in Retail Link if you are receiving those fines. I can talk about, where you would receive those fines. For SWEP and OTIF, it's going to be in high radius, which is outside of Retail Link. And then when it comes to your deduction fines, that's actually going to be in Retail Link, and that can be seen in APDB. So I would check those if you're a new supplier and see what's going on. All right, so what are some of we've talked about the Collect Pickup program. You've seen kind of the good, bad, and ugly about Collect and the Collect Pickup program. Maybe you're thinking, you know, I want to stay in Collect. There's benefits there, but I haven't really weighed the options of prepaid, or maybe you're trying to decide what mix is best for you. So from the suppliers that we've talked to, some of our retail knowledge, for Collect, you're still not responsible for delivery performance. So you're going to have lower OTIF fines, lower SWEP fines, and the freight costs are out of your control. So that is kind of nice to focus more on other things, and then just kind of pay what you're expected to pay. However, because you don't have control of those on-time deliveries, that can be frustrating on a replenishment level, or having items in store. You're going to have less visibility into transportation. And like we said, you're going to have these Collect Pickup fees that need to be added into your cost. For prepaid, you're going to have more control of the terms of cost. You can switch to other 3PLs, your third-party logistics, if you're using those. And you can be a little bit more strategic about what levers you're pulling to have, you know, better cost and better delivery times, etc. But the con of that is going to be that you're going to be holding the liability with damages, delivery time. You're going to be in charge of having a view and owning those OTIF fines. So that's your on time and in full. You will be owning the SWEP fines, which may be related. Some of those are on PO accuracy and the way that items are packed, either their packaging, labeling, or palletization. So wanted to call that out as well. And there was a kind of outcry, especially when the Collect Pickup program started, that there were going to be a lot of suppliers who were focusing on going prepaid, but avoiding those Collect Pickup program fines by going prepaid may be a double-edged sword, because you won't have to pay out to that particular program that is set, but you're going to be, you know, maybe you'll be locked into a 3PL contract, or you'll be dealing with a 3PL that doesn't meet your expectations in terms of timing and expenses, and you're wanting to pass some of those fines on. And going through that exchange, you have your added transportation costs. You know, the whole industry was affected by trucking shortages, gas prices, so you're going to eat the cost with a Collect program or going prepaid. And then that added culpability, like I've mentioned before, on OTIF fines, SWEP fines, and then those AP deductions as well. All right, and we wanted to call out the shipper load, shipper count. This is just another kind of tertiary option. It's not necessarily on the same level as collector prepaid, but it is something that you can use. It's a method where the shipper is assuming the responsibility for counting and packaging. And this is kind of another level that you can pull as a supplier to kind of control how your product's being processed. And this can be really helpful for suppliers if you're having issues with in full particularly, or with some of the AP deduction codes like shortages. That's going to be your code 22s, 24s, 25s, as well as some of the other overages, some of the other deduction codes that are in the 70+ deductions that Walmart has. So this is another option. We do have a webinar on this specifically. I believe it's one of our Supply Pike Academies on shipper load, shipper count, and wanted to call that out as another option where you can get some more information on this topic in particular. Collect shipping, in which the retailer is not held accountable for checking the load or count on the BOL. So you can see that here. It's marked trailer load by shipper, freight counted by shipper. And those should both be checked if you're using shipper load, shipper count. So why does this happen? Why do other suppliers use it? It helps reduce time for product pickup. Walmart will sometimes request this for certain shipments, depending on either the type or timing. Walmart drivers may request this upon pickup if they're behind schedule or in a hurry, and it can be an effective means of freeing up lanes at warehouse locations. All right, and I know this is kind of the place that I've been harping on, but this is, kind of our bread and butter, especially if you are frustrated with your collect pickup fees and you're wanting a way to minimize that. There are other programs at Walmart that are claiming dollars based on either shortages or allowances or packaging fines or your on time or in full fines. These are the places that you should be focusing as a supplier on reducing to recover those dollars rather than the collect pickup program. Yes, it's frustrating that this was, especially if you're a supplier that has been around for a little bit longer, that this is kind of thrown into the mix, but you can work on invalid fines and fighting those as well. I could even include post audits in here. That's another really worthy cause of huge dollar amounts that are going to be essentially bulk deductions. You can go and fight those as well. So we do have a couple resources I'll mention just if you are looking on fighting some of those fighting for some of those recovered dollars that you want back. We have our Walmart Deductions Explained guide that has all the codes, 70 plus codes, how to dispute them, where to dispute them, what they mean, and you can download that. We also have lots of resources on SQEP fines. You can find webinars on some of the 20, I think we have a ebook that covers the 23 top fines that suppliers are getting and how to fight those, what proof documentation you need, and same with OTIF, webinars, articles. Just go ahead and search in SupplierWiki. If one of these programs is plaguing you more than the other, I'd start there and focus on whittling down some of those particular defects or fines that are causing the largest hit to your dollars that you have earned. And with that, we'll go ahead and get into the Q&A. So let's see if Danielle, do we have any questions in the chat?
Yeah. Well, thank you for running through all that content, Ali, and thank you to everyone in the chat for your insights and questions. We always appreciate the engagement. I noticed that one question popped through, and I think this is if I'm not mistaken, it's related to the pickup charge. We had the question come through. Can you explain why the department charge could change every month?
I wish I could. That is a great question. That's something that I've looked at for why Walmart has decided that. I'm not sure. I haven't seen any other suppliers that have, or a definitive answer from Walmart. I would say some suppliers have made different observations, and I would go research those, but there hasn't been a reason why Walmart has said that they're changing that month to month. I think they're giving themselves a flexibility. What I would suggest doing if you are interested is kind of see what's happened over the last couple months and know that range, understand that range, and that's kind of where it will fall. If it does spike, I have seen, especially in the beginning, some suppliers saying, hey, this number doesn't make sense. And I do know in the first 2 or 3 months, the charges were actually pulled back, recalculated, and then resubmitted. So you can't necessarily dispute those, and I don't necessarily think that is the solution every time, but I would monitor that. If that's something that you've got your deductions, your OTIF fines, your SQEP fines under control, and you want to monitor that and make sure that program is adhering correctly, I would suggest that. But again, your time is better spent on fighting those deductions, the OTIF fines and then the SQEP fines, rather than tracking that department item number, which is frustrating, I know, but yeah, sorry, I don't have a better answer than that.
Well, thank you for your insight, Ali. It's still helpful. It looks like we don't have any further questions today. But we once again just want to say thank you for those of you who have joined. If you do think of a question later on or would like to share any insights, please feel free to reach out to us on our email, or you can find us at Supply Pike. We would love to continue the conversation with you there. You can see our email addresses and just some contact information. Like I said, we'd just love to continue that conversation with you.
Yeah, and definitely check out some of the articles that we have on the Collect Pickup program if you want. I do have the percentages article. I think, Danielle, you dropped that in the chat. As we're transitioning, if this is where you jump off, totally understand. We're going to get into the Supply Pike application now. So I'll start sharing my screen and jump into that application. All right. Perfect. Okay, here we go. So this is the Supply Pike dashboard. I talked a little bit about deductions, and if you are new to deductions, whether you're a new supplier or you have been on settlement before and now you are disputing an APDP, this is the Supply Pike solution for our for deductions. You can see at the top of the dashboard, we've got a couple different metrics for deduction management health. So this kind of aggregates all your data from the different sources in Retail Link and allows you to view your data without having to pull a report, without having to spend a lot of time. You can see really quickly what's going on. Now, I'm really going to brush the surface today. I'm not going to go into our application too in depth, but did want to call out, we do have helpful information just kind of for reviewing whether you are at an analyst level and you're the one executing these deductions in APDP. This is helpful to not have to pull reports for your upper management so they can see really quickly where your deductions are. Some of the interesting things that you can do is kind of view them in different ways. So we've sliced and diced the data so you can see your deductions by status, and you'll see these match the different deductions for Walmart and how they describe them in APDP. Again, this is a demo company, so the numbers would look different, and we can actually pull your data in a couple days. It's relatively easy. Our onboarding process is really quick. And then we also have our deductions by claim code. So kind of when I was talking about spending your time fighting deductions rather than lamenting about the Collect Pickup program or trying to figure out how to fight those fees, you can see exactly kind of where your claims are hitting based on the different code type and what those codes actually mean. So you could filter and understand, where you should actually spend your time. With the demo company here, it looks like they need to focus on shortages. So it's really helpful to kind of build that strategy out as you're working through your deductions. We also have this root causes section that's also been added. You can kind of review those, and that really gives you a pinpoint of where you may need to focus your energy, whether it's a receiving error or invoice error, and you can kind of click into those and understand a little bit better on where that's coming from. We also have deductions over time, so you can view where they're higher versus the 2 different years. And you can do that by the amount of deductions and as well as the count. So amount meaning the dollar amount, and then the count of just like the bulk of deductions. We also have claim lines by item number. So you can view it by your different items, which is helpful to understand. Maybe it's a packaging, or maybe it's the way that you're shipping them. You can go back and look at your item management and understand if it's something at that level, or if it's the way that it's pulling into the PO or into Nova. You kind of understand it from here. And this is a great place to jump off and like get into some of that root cause. We also have deductions by location, which may be helpful if you are focusing on one DC as a potential problem area, and then root causing what's happening there, what's happening with your 3PLs, or what's happening with your freight at the different DCs. We also have the deductions by amount, so you can see some suppliers really like to focus on, anything over $1,000 they'll go in dispute, but there's still a large amount of deductions that are still in that under 100 can really add up. So another strategic way to think about your deductions. So that is the overall dashboard. I'm going to jump quickly into deductions, and then we can take time for questions if anyone has any about this or the presentation earlier. This is kind of where we take action on our deductions. So I did mention that you can go and dispute these in APDP, but the solution that SupplyPike has built out makes it easy to just dispute them in the application without having to touch Retail Link. So there's lots of different things you can click here, but what I really want to focus on is the fact that it's really easy to dispute one claim in seconds. So I'll click into this claim, and you can see that all the information that you need to dispute is pulled in. Your history, the order information. This is, the root cause that we've just added that feature now. We're actually going to have, I think we are going to have a Supplier Academy webinar on that. So you should look out for that if you're interested in learning more about that solution that's building into the application. But this is kind of the most fun part for me, is being able to see the proof documentation pulled in. Not anything that a supplier has to upload. You do have the ability to upload or edit or add documents here, but really the business logic has mentioned that it's ready to dispute, so you can actually hit that button and that one deduction is done. So really easy. We have seen with some suppliers, it takes about 20 to 30 minutes to dispute one deduction in APDP, and this takes it down to seconds. But if that's not fast enough, you can always filter for, let's say we just want to do all of them that are likely invalid. We could click this and then submit those disputes, and that's even faster. So really awesome to see how quick that can happen. There's lots of different filters you can use up here. But I did want to call out one more feature, and this is our bulk disputing. So if one click wasn't fast enough for you, auto disputing, which is essentially 0 clicks, allows suppliers to kind of hit it, set it, and forget it. So let's say for code 22s, you wanted to turn on auto dispute and you want them to be invalid for sure or likely invalid. You can go ahead and dispute those. You can, without having to lift a finger. You can also set the deduction amount limit and hit a maximum. You could put like, I only want to dispute up to $100. I'm going to put those on auto dispute. So really easy to kind of review, to use, whether you're, actioning those disputes, or if you are at a higher level on trying to understand where your deductions are within your business. Super easy to use. So I'm only going to spend time on our deduction solution today, but know that we have solutions for overages, for OTIF, that help you kind of understand that root cause, that help with disputing, same with SQEP. So you can review that for Walmart as well as some of the other retailers we have. But I'll go ahead and switch us over to our emails, or you can find us at supplypike.com. If there's no more questions, then I'll go ahead and say goodbye to everyone today.